Hoi hoi, Rinda here. In May and June I hiked the Główny Szlak Beskidzki, or the Main Beskid Trail, Poland's longest long-distance trail. In 502 beautiful kilometers it will lead you from Ustroń, near the Czech border, all the way to Wołosate, near the border with Ukraine. And with the trail you will explore the Beskidi mountain range, 3 provinces and 4 national parks. Now, when I was hiking this trail, some people were surprised to see a foreigner on trail, because apparently this trail is not all that well known outside Poland. And with this video, I'm hoping to change that. This trail has absolutely beautiful landscapes. It's not hard or difficult. There's no scrambling, although there are some steep sections, but the nature is absolutely beautiful. So, as usual with all my videos, I'm hoping to encourage people to hike, and this trail is certainly well worth exploring. As I said earlier, the GSB is absolutely gorgeous. During the rain, the forests are shrouded in mystery, and on clear days you can get amazing views of the Tatras and other mountains and valleys. There are some wildlife, and the trail is also well waymarked, so there's no searching for which way to go, which I always like. I want to hike without a care in my mind and just follow the way markers. There are also many huts and villages on trail, so you never have to carry more than a few days worth of food. A tent does give you more flexibility, but if you want to, you can hike with a very light backpack and stay in huts and hotels all the way. You can also try authentic Polish food in the huts, and if you're very lucky, you will meet some ladies selling homemade Polish cheese, and that was absolutely delicious. So if you do come across them, I would be sure to buy some. If you're into that sort of thing, you can also collect stamps. All the huts and also some mountaintops and viewing towers have stamps, and unlike the Juliana Trail in Slovenia, these stamps come with an ink pad, so you don't have to bring one yourself. So if you have a booklet or something, you can get stamps. I think you can buy a booklet on trail in the tourist information offices, but I don't really care for stamps, so I I didn't do any of that. As far as souvenirs, I really didn't look for GSB related souvenirs in Ustroń. I started early and the shops weren't open yet. The rest of the trail I didn't really see anything until I came to Wołosate, where there were quite a few, and especially fridge magnets. Which is good for me because I do collect fridge magnets and was able to add to my collection. The best time to hike the GSB is from May to October, when the temperatures are but nicer, the weather is stable, and there's little chance of snow. Outside the summer holidays, which last from late June to late August, the trail isn't very crowded, and you don't need to book the huts more than a day in advance. Although in the weekends the huts can be fully booked, and popular huts like the one at the foot of Babia Gora can get fully booked at any time with groups. There are also a few student campsites along the trail. And outside the summer holidays, there are no facilities, but also no staff to charge you. So you can just pitch your tent there and stay there for free. There will be water and perhaps a loo, but not much else. I saw one student campsite that had a sauna. So if you're staying there during the summer holidays, you get to enjoy that as well, I think. Be aware that there's a Thursday in May or June that is a religious holiday in Poland, the Feast of Corpus Christi, where all the shops will be closed. Many people will take the Friday off and make it a long weekend, so the trail will be noticeably more crowded. and you will meet more day hikers along the way, or people will start their through hike then. And I didn't find it annoying because I hiked in the opposite direction as most others. So for me, it was just short contact. But I was quite surprised to see so many people until that day. The 4th of June is a national holiday because on that day in 1989, the opposition won the elections, and that heralded the end of communism in Poland. So when I was hiking the GSB, I was not sure that the shops were closed because of the religious or the national holiday, but the shops were closed anyway. So it's well worth to check if you're hiking in May or June, which day the holiday is exactly, and where you are on trail, and if you will be needing any shops or accommodation. There's also a running festival in Cisna early June called the Butcher's Run, and it has distances from 5 to 500 kilometers, with the latter being a relay of the entire GSB. I was lucky enough that the main body of runners passed while I was sleeping in a hut, so I only encountered the last few runners on trail, and obviously I gave them the right of way. But if you encounter the main body of runner, you might want to consider getting off trail for a bit, because I think it would be annoying for both parties to have continuously step aside for them. And again, I think runners have priority, so it might be well worth getting off trail for a bit. I will post a link to the website in the description of this video. The website is in Polish, but with Google Translate you will be able to get more details. The GSB is not very difficult. There's no scrambling, and you don't really need to have any alpine experience. Just be sure-footed. There are some very steep sections, including ski slopes that you have to go up and down. But as long as you use trekking poles, it should be quite manageable. There are some sections that are quite muddy, especially after rain, I think. But as long as you're slow and careful, I think it should be just fine. I used this guidebook by the author Leszek Piklo, which is entirely in Polish, but with the aid of Google Translate, I was able to read quite a bit beforehand. On the trail itself, I didn't read the guidebook at all, just to use the map and the elevation profile, and that was enough to get by. I also used a GPX, because although the trail is well waymarked, there were some sections through meadows where there weren't any trees to put a waymark on. And sometimes the way markings were quite a bit past the turnoff. So on 1 or 2 occasions a GPX came in quite handy. The trail is waymarked with white and red stripes and signposts that list the next top or hut in hours. And the waymarking is almost foolproof, but not quite. As I said, sometimes the waymarks are quite a bit past the turnoff and you need a GPX. And also sometimes trees have been felled that carried a waymark, although the people who work in the woods are sometimes considerate enough to cut the tree just above the waymark, which was quite funny to me. I hiked the trail from Ustroń to Wołosate, although the guidebook describes the trail in the opposite direction. And while I was on trail, I also met many hikers going in the opposite direction. But of course, someone hiking from Ustroń to Wołosate could have been just a day ahead of me or a day behind, and I would have never seen them. So I'm not sure which the most popular direction is exactly. My reasoning for this is because the start of the trail for me had lots of villages and huts, so you can get into your stride and find your trail legs before the difficult sections where the huts are a bit more spaced out. And also because I like to end with the most beautiful section. And the section near Wołosate was absolutely gorgeous, especially because the clouds opened up and I had clear views all around. The last stage, from Ustroń to Wołosate, you can hike with a day pack because the trail makes a big loop and it's about 23 kilometers before you end up in Wołosate. But along the road, the distance from Wołosate to Ustroń is only 5 kilometers. So if you stay in Ustroń for 2 nights, you can hike with a day pack, and I highly recommend doing that. If you start in Wołosate, you can get into your stride, and if you end there, it's very nice to hike without the weight of a full backpack. And there's a few climbs, not too hard, but I think you will enjoy the scenery more with just the light weight of a day pack. I flew into Katowice, and from the airport it's about an half hour by bus to the main train station. And from the main train station it's maybe an hour and a half to Ustroń, so that's quite close. Getting back from Ustroń was a bit longer. It took about 3 buses and maybe 7 to 8 hours to get back in Katowice. The advantage of going through a big city like Katowice is that just behind the train station there's an outdoor shop divided over 2 properties where you can buy gas and any other piece of gear you might still need. Poland is part of the European Union, but does not have the euro as national coin, but the zloty. And I took some cash with me. Credit cards are not widely used in Europe, so if you're an American, take that into account. In almost all the huts, bar one, you can just use your debit card and use tap to pay. There's one hut that is explicitly cash only, so be sure to take some cash with you. And also to buy some things, like in the parking lot after Baba Yagora, there were some ladies selling homemade smoked cheese, which was absolutely delicious. And I paid in cash and I devoured the cheese because I was tired, hot and sweaty, and the cheese was just what I needed. You also pass by one restaurant just across the border in Slovakia, and that of course has the euros, but they accept zlotys as well. During my hike, I mostly stayed in huts, also a few hotels, and I camped a few times. Because I hiked outside the busy season, I only booked a day or so ahead, and most of the time I had a room all to myself, except in Cisna, where I was during the running festival. There I had a dorm in the attic, which I shared with quite a few people. The huts, you can get breakfast, lunch and dinner there. The breakfast usually start at 7:30 or 8. So if you want to get an early start, you might want to bring your own breakfast. And the kitchen usually closes at 8 as well. So if you have a long day, you might want to make sure you get in time before the kitchen closes. There wasn't any hut I disliked. They really range from nice to very nice. But one gripe I do have with them, that the lights in the restroom and showers are governed by motion sensors, and they have a ridiculously short timer. Sometimes after 15 or 30 seconds the light will turn off again and you'll be in the dark. So that was quite annoying. But apart from that, they were very good. Most huts are managed by the Polish Tourist Association, PTZK, but there were a few private ones as well. And in fact, my favorite hut along the trail was a private one, where I rented out the entire cabin, simply because there wasn't anything else around. The cabin was fairly new and very luxurious. It even had a jacuzzi and a sauna, which I didn't use, but I did use the hammock and it was very relaxing. I also met the host and she was very nice. I'm not sure if many people will stay there, because the next day would be quite long if you press on all the way to Cisna like I did. But you can manage it. There is a student campsite, the Rabe, around kilometer 81, counting down to Wołosate. and it's only about a half hour off trail. While I was on trail, I saw lots of fire salamanders, woodpecker I still don't know the name of, and some other birds, and I love birds. But the reason I'm including this section is that from Chihuahua to Wołosate, you're in brown bear country. Now, brown bears are very shy, I've read, and they avoid the busy trails. So I certainly didn't see one. But in April of this year, a 58-year-old woman who was in the forest looking for deer antlers was killed by a bear. And that was in Plona, I think, a village about 17 kilometers off the trail near Dusatin. And again, the previous deadly attack was in 2014, so it is extremely rare. But if you want to wild camp in this section of trail, you might want to rethink that. When I was on trail in this section, I did see hikers carrying bear belts and one hiker carrying bear spray. So you might want to take precautions. I just banged my trekking poles together on occasion to let any bear in the vicinity know that I was there. Water isn't really an issue on trail. You can get water at the huts and in the supermarket in the villages you pass through. I did filter water on a few occasions, but a lot of the time the trail is up high on ridges and there won't be any running water or streams, although there were some puddles in tire tracks. And one time I came across a quite clear puddle with little frogs in them, so I figured the water must be fairly clean. And I filtered it and drank it because I hiked the trail during a heat wave and I never drink enough water. So at that time I was quite low on water and I would have made it without it, but it's best to be safe. When I arrived in Cisna, I was a bit dehydrated, and when I arrived at the hut, I think I must have drank 2 liters of orange juice. So don't do what I did and make sure you always have enough water. Whenever you travel to a country, I think it's important to know at least a few words like hello and thank you. And while I was on trail, I also learned a few new words which I think came in handy. I will probably be mispronouncing them horribly, so my apologies to any Polish watching. But I hope you'll find it useful and will give any foreigners a bit of leeway when they mispronounce your language. The first is hello, and that is just, which I didn't hear before. I visited Poland before when I was 18, and this time I heard it quite frequently on trail. What I did remember from when I was in Poland at 18 was dzień dobry, good morning, and dziękuję, thank you. And two new words I learned is noclegi, accommodation. So if you see that on a house, they probably have rooms for you to stay at, and baza, which means campsite. Well, this was the video with information about the GSB based on my experience in Poland. I hope you found it useful and can get busy planning your own thu-hike of the GSB. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm always happy to help a fellow hiker. There's also a Facebook group about the GSB where you can ask questions. Well, I won't be seeing you on trail, of course, because I've already hiked this trail. But I wish everyone happy hiking, and do check out my vlog with my day-to-day experiences.